Hello you guys, and welcome back to my channel. So as you already may know by the title, I am sharing some very raw things with you. Please look at the trigger warning. So today we are talking about infertility, and I can say that with a smile on my face now. Praise God. I have all of my notes. My periods, they would come and go. It started becoming regular when I was in college. I graduated college in 2016. It was a very stressful period, and I just contributed my cycles coming and going to me being under stress, me trying to graduate. I had my degree in mass communication from the Edward Waters University. It was Edward Waters College when I graduated. My department chair was like very hard on us, and he was stressing me out. And I thought maybe, and every time I noticed when I go on a break, like Christmas or summer, and I didn't have to deal with school, my cycles would come on. So I'm like, okay, maybe school is just stressing me out. I didn't think too deep in it. I was too busy trying to graduate. After I graduated, I noticed that my cycles were not coming on. So I'm thinking, I don't know what's going on. I would do pregnancy tests. I was not pregnant, and they decided to do like an ultrasound, and they found cysts on my ovaries, and they were telling me in 2017 that I had polycystic ovarian syndrome, and the chances of me having a baby would be slim to none. Now let's back up a little bit. I got engaged in 2016 as well. We get engaged. A few months later, in 2017, I find out that I have polycystic ovarian syndrome. So I'm shocked. And this is like kind of right before our wedding. I was already going through a lot. I had found my dream dress, but I was trying to find something else. I don't know why. So I was like stressing myself out with wedding stuff. And then I get this news about me having PCOS and me not being able to have a baby. So now I'm like, I went back to work. At that time, I was a financial aid representative for Everest University. I had went to the doctor, came back to work, and it's something when you are dealing with that and you have to keep yourself together on the outside and just act like everything is okay, but you are dying on the inside. My mind was spiraling, as you can imagine, because I didn't think that was something I was gonna have to deal with. After I get off of work, I've called my husband, well, my fiance at the time, and one of his friends lived around the corner from us. So I drove over there, and he got in the car, we were talking. I was like, just a mess, and I basically told him that we may not need to follow through with getting married. Yes, you guys, I was about to call off my own wedding because I feared that I could not give my husband a child. So I told him what happened at the doctor's, and I told him, if you don't want to get married, then that's fine, because I don't believe that we would be able to. I can't give you a family. And I was dealing with a lot. My fiance at the time, now husband, was like, first of all, like, we're still getting married, and here's the rest of the money. Go get the dress that you really want. I was like, okay, but of course I still worried about it. But fast forward, we get married in August of 2017, and here come the questions at the wedding, at the reception. We're sitting down, eating our food, and people are walking up like, so when are y'all gonna have a baby? Even if there is nothing wrong with you and you don't have an infertility diagnosis, who's to say that you're gonna get pregnant? And if you start trying to get pregnant in March, that means you're gonna get pregnant in March. It doesn't always work like that, even if you aren't having any issues. We had all of those questions. I get the call about the benign brain tumor called prolactinoma or prolactinadenoma. I think I said that right. And that was in 2018, the very beginning of 2018. It was January, and they wanted me to have an MRI. I had never experienced an MRI before. I went in to get the MRI, and I saw the machine, and boy, I about had a fit. I'm claustrophobic, and I saw it. It was like a like a circle. And I'm like, y'all want me to get in that? Are y'all? I said no. So from right there, I started to just go on this downhill spiral because I'm like, dang, I'm not going to be able to even get fixed or healed because they have to be able to see what's going on. And I can't get in that tube. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. Can't do it. So I called my doctors. I let them know, hey, it's not happening. I'm not getting in that. So ended up getting rid of the old insurance that I had, and I got a new insurance. And this was a lot better because I was trying to get the current doctor in 2018. I was trying to get him to give me maybe a CT scan or something other than getting in the closed MRI. Fast forward, I get a new insurance and I have a better OBGYN. All of 2018, I spent it trying to get an MRI. They even sent me to an open MRI. They was like, okay, if you can't do the closed, we'll send you to open. Went there, couldn't get it. So I even had my mom to go with me. It didn't matter that my mother was there. I couldn't get it. I had my husband to go there with me. I couldn't do it. Spent a whole year trying to go and get the MRI so they could see what's going on, so they can give me medicine or do whatever they need to do. So with having the prolactinoma, the benign brain tumor, depending on how large it is, they may have to give you a surgery, and that surgery is actually through your nostrils, or if it's really small. For me, they were like, we just need to see how big it is. That way we'll know how to treat you, whether we need to just give you medicine to shrink it or if we are going to need to do surgery on you. So I'm like, dang, praise God, I have never had any surgery. So I'm like, gosh, that's something else I'm going to have to deal with. So it's like a lot of stuff weighing on me. And now I'm not just worried about having a baby. I'm worrying about my health. Like, am I okay? I was still trying to just build my career within the beauty industry after being laid off from my job. I knew I always wanted to be in the beauty industry doing something with hair, makeup. Here I am with all these different weights on me, weighing me down. And the first couple of times when I couldn't get the MRI, I just felt a little scared. But it got to the point where I was having panic attacks. I was like I remember one time my mom went with me because she knew how serious it was. They were like, we have an upright MRI. They were trying everything. And I was sitting up in the little machine and it was going to slide me back. And I'm like, I can't do it. So I was like, here I am. I want a child and I can't even get through the MRI. I was dealing with claustrophobia. So my mom with me that time and I just boohoo cried. I was just so frustrated because I spent a whole year going back to these different MRI facilities and trying to get it. And it was just so frustrating. And my mom was there and I just let it all out. Like, I was crying. It was a mess. And I even made my mom cry because she never seen me that upset in my life. And I was just so sure that, okay, this time I'm going to be able to go in and get the MRI and then we can move forward. That whole year, it started up anxiety for me. Like, me trying to get in those machines, it started triggering anxiety. Like, after one time, I was inside of one, I would be able to get in, but I couldn't stay in it. And at that time, my mom had, so yeah, she had the two-door car and I couldn't sit in the back at all. I'm starting to deal with so many other things on top of just infertility. I started to want to isolate myself. I didn't want to be around anyone or anything that I felt could expose me. And what I meant by that was I just didn't want to go around certain things. Like, I was still attending baby showers because I remember going to a few of them, but I didn't want to go because I was so afraid of somebody asking me at the baby shower, like, well, when are you going to have a baby? And, you know, I just couldn't answer that. I was going through hell, literally. And so I didn't want to go, not because I didn't want to support my friends, but I wasn't ready to let everybody know what I was dealing with. It started to really weigh on me mentally. So I'm carrying a lot of mental trauma with me, and I just didn't know how to tell everybody what I was going through. I didn't want to be exposed. I just wasn't comfortable with sharing what I was going through with somebody because I didn't feel like, you just don't know who's a safe space when you're going through something and you're so vulnerable. I was very vulnerable. I didn't want to tell people, well, hey, I'm dealing with infertility and I'm dealing with anxiety now because of it. I'm dealing with so many internal issues that I just can't come. But for the most part, I didn't want to go because I didn't want to be exposed. I was also a people pleaser, so I don't want to piss my friends off or my family off by not attending their events. So even though I was going through something so traumatic, I was like, no, I'm still gonna go. I didn't have any skills, any coping skills for what I was going through, so I didn't know how to respond to people when they asked me, when are you gonna have a baby? That put me in a chokehold so bad when people were like, when are you gonna have a baby? Oh, I see Melissa's having a baby. Portia, when are you gonna have a baby? You're married. So moving on to the questions that I hate. I hated those questions. Don't ask me when I'm having a baby. Like, I remember having family members like, well, Portia, when you having a baby? Like asking me these questions in front of like a room full of people. And I'm like, I told my husband, y'all will feel real bad. They would feel really bad if when they ask me, Portia, when are you having a baby? If I respond and say, when I stop swallowing. Even though that's not the truth, it's just y'all are in my business. And now that I'm past that, I look at it as sometimes people don't ask you things to hurt your feelings. They just really want to know. They're excited for you. They're excited for your future. They probably want to see what you and your husband's baby would look like. But those questions are, regardless of how they come in, regardless if they're asking in love, it's inappropriate. It's inappropriate to ask somebody that and put them on blast in front of a room full of people. I was very depressed. I did feel like, what is the purpose of my life? Because at this point, years had started to go by and, still no baby. It was crazy. So asking me those questions, it really pissed me off. It made me very angry with the person. It made me mad with them. And maybe my anger shouldn't have been directed at them. Maybe I shouldn't have been so angry. But when somebody is constantly asking you this, it's like, use common sense. If I don't have children, maybe, and me and this man have been together for a long time, maybe we're having issues, and maybe you need to just not ask those questions because I don't have an answer for you. Even friends, I would lie to people. I'm like, I don't want children because you're too deep in my business. A lot of these people, they had a slew of kids and not even married. If I turn around and ask them, well, when are you getting married? I'm the bad guy. But I hated those questions. And it's like, the more you hate something, the more it just pops up in your face. The more people want to ask you those questions. So, I hated the baby aisle in Walmart. Like, Walmart gave me the worst anxiety when I had to go in the back near the baby section. It just triggered me. I'm like, ugh, I don't want to go over here. And I would have these, it's almost like I was having panic attacks. Like, I couldn't stomach it. So I hated the baby aisle. So I'm just really trying to go deep and show you all where my mind was. I also hated my birthday, our anniversary. I hated Mother's Day, Father's Day, and I hated my birthday because I'm like, dang, another year older, and I'm starting to get a little bit of anxiety about, I'm getting older and older. Like, am I gonna have a baby before, I get this age, that age? So that's why my birthdays were freaking me out, my anniversaries. Every time I post our anniversary, I had this one person asking, well, where's the baby, or when's the baby coming? And I'm like, you know, that's really rude. So instead of me just enjoying my anniversary for what it was, I'm worried about if people are going to, you know, ask us these questions. And they didn't really ask my husband those questions. They asked the woman. Yeah, I was asking me, and I'm like, what if he was the one with the issue? But no, they would always ask me, when are y'all gonna have babies? And I'm like, honey, I don't know. On Mother's Day, I hated that for the obvious reason. I'm like, you know, what do I do with this day? What do I do with all of this pain and anxiety that I have on this day? In 2019, I had like a Mother's Day brunch at my house, and it was me, my husband, my mom, my grandma, and some of my cousins. Okay, and my husband, he would still buy me flowers and stuff like that on Mother's Day. He knew I was having a hard time, and the entire time his stance was a stance of faith. Like, we're gonna believe and not doubt. So sometimes I would tell him, like, no, like, don't get me anything because we haven't had a baby yet. But he'll be like, no, I'm still gonna get you something. And in 2020, I had another Mother's Day brunch. And that time it was my husband and I, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my grandma, and my cousins. And we did a brunch there at the house for Mother's Day. I still was trying to turn the negative into a positive, but I've learned so much on this journey. I hated Father's Day for that same reason. New Year's was so tough for me because every time we were going to a new year, I would feel so sad and so broken, like this is another year that we haven't had a baby. And it wouldn't be so bad. All I would hear is people like asking those questions, and I got really uncomfortable. Like, I would back to me wanting to isolate myself. I remember working in a salon, and I quit the salon for other reasons. But I remember being so damn glad that I quit before Mother's Day because I didn't want the customers ask me, what are you doing for Mother's Day? Like, yes, I have my own mother that I could celebrate, but I'm going through something else. I'm going through my own personal struggles. I was glad that I didn't have to be around that. I even enjoyed working by myself, and I started working for myself in 2019, and I was so happy because I didn't have to deal with those things. It became so easy for me to just stay to myself and not worry about somebody asking me that dreaded question. And that's how serious it was for me. I didn't want to be among other women. I didn't want to go to certain events where I felt like I was gonna be cornered and asked that question. But I remember just not wanting to go this church that I was a part of in Jacksonville, like a Mother's Day tea and hat, and I didn't want to go. I went to it anyway because I was doing makeup. I was just a little uncomfortable. Oh, I remember driving back home and I cried. I just didn't know what to do with everything. And I started thinking to myself, I need therapy at this point because I'm suffering in silence. And I don't really have too many people that I can open up and share raw feelings with and not be afraid that people would judge me. I started therapy for that reason. And I was like Googling therapists, and for some reason I could never get through to these therapists. And one day the Lord allowed me to have a customer that I didn't know to the end of me doing her hair that she was a therapist. And we connected from there. I began taking her sessions, still in her sessions. I thank God for that woman. Now I'm about to get teary-eyed because her help has really, that changed my life. So if you are thinking about therapy, I say do it. I'm happy that my therapist is a woman of color, just like myself. We relate on so many things but she went through the same thing as myself, and overcoming prolactinoma. And her and I connect, not just there, but I get teary-eyed when I think about how therapy has changed my life. So I started therapy, and she's also a woman of faith, a woman of God. It helped me to put some of these thoughts into another perspective, and it helped me to deal with the things that I was going through. I had no fear of opening up to her. People can just be evil. And I had a really big fear of somebody like saying, that's why you can't have a baby. And I had to talk to myself like, Portia, if somebody said that to you, is that really a friend? Is that somebody you want in your life? Like, no. So I was trying to like prep myself, because I was really like thinking, you may not be able to have this baby that you want. So you're going to have to get some tough skin and toughen up. Therapy was a big help with trying to navigate those fears of being around people. I had so much fear just because, I didn't want to be rejected based off the fact that I was going through infertility. I don't want people to look at me like I was a broken woman. Fast forward, I believe in 2020, my polycystic ovarian syndrome, or PCOS syndrome, that was revoked. So my OBGYN at the time told me, after looking at your ovaries for about 2 years, you do not have PCOS. We are only dealing with the prolactinoma. Now I'm going to go back to, we're going to take the spiritual route really quickly. So I would get words, a prophetic word. If you don't know what it is, Google it. But I would get a prophetic word every time I would go to a church. It didn't matter if it was my church, if I was visiting a church, they would always tell me, if somebody there that was a prophet, they will always tell me, like, I see you having a baby. God is going to do it for you. You get ready to have a baby. And it'll excite me, but I'm like wanting that thing to happen now. I'm like, I don't want to hear it no more. So in 2019, we were at a family reunion in Ocilla, Georgia, and my cousin came in. I hadn't seen my cousin since I was like 6 years old. I call her auntie now. She touched my belly and she was like, "Are you pregnant?" And I just started to laugh when she said it. I don't know why, but when she said it, I was not offended. I didn't feel mad. I didn't feel some type of way. I didn't get angry. I just felt joy when I don't know. It just was a different feeling that I had when she asked me. I said, "No, I'm not pregnant." She was like, "You don't get pregnant. It's going to be a girl." So I began to cry because I'm going through hell with this. Not many people know what I was up against. I didn't talk about it to many people. I was just suffering in silence. I spent many nights with my husband and I praying for me, praying over my womb. I spent many nights just, sad. I would try to keep myself busy and pull myself out of that, but I was truly depressed. So my cousin gives me that prophetic word. We hadn't been keeping up with each other. This was a divine word from God. So I'm like, okay. So her and I, we talked probably a few times. And then in 2020, I was getting ready to move because my husband had joined the military. We were getting ready to move and I was moving close, where my husband's station is close to my cousin. So she has table talk and I was going to table talk and she kept praying for me, and kept encouraging me. So she was very important as well in this story. Kept on encouraging me, kept telling me what God was showing her. And she began to pray for my fallopian tube. She was like, God is showing me to pray for you. So she prayed for my fallopian tube. And my cousin's name is Tanya Vickers on Facebook. Don't go harassing my cousin now. But my cousin began to pray for me. I knew God had been talking through her. So back to my personal feelings. So I would also feel like I'm not a woman. I don't know. It's like the enemy is, if he can get to you and get in your head and make you feel all of these things, he is going to get in your head and bring you down. That's why you have to stay prayed up with whatever you're going through. You need to stay connected to people that believe in God. I don't know about you, but I'm a Christian. I believe in the Lord Jesus Christ. I believe in God. And if that ain't your thing, then that's not your thing, but that's my thing. And I believe in God. And so you have to stay, for those of us that believe in God, you need to stay connected to people that's going to empower you when you are going through your darkest moments, because it was I knew I had to stay in church every Sunday. I knew I had to pray daily. I like the enemy was after me. I was feeling like, well, I started to also fear that people were going to question if I was truly a woman because I didn't have a child. You know, like, to y'all, this might sound ridiculous, but these are the battles that I was dealing with. And I'm so grateful that I'm at a place now that I can get on camera and I feel so comfortable talking about it. I'm getting teary-eyed now. But instead of me spending time having fun, enjoying being a young married woman, right now we're just young, having fun. We're married. Like, that should have been my mindset. And if I could go back and hug this girl and hug myself a couple of years ago, I would go back and give myself the tightest hug. I started to feel like afraid that people were going to question my womanhood or something. And I don't know, that was really, really dark and tough. And next I started to open up myself to the idea of IVF or adoption. So I was just trying to prepare myself for that. And I was like, you know, dang, that's going to be more questions. And maybe the baby wouldn't come naturally. Maybe we would need some type of assistance. So I was considering that if you are somebody that is going to have to do IVF or adopt or whatever to start your family, don't worry about these people. And because people will say something to you, hurt your feelings, not even know your feelings are hurt, and keep moving, you know, and you'll be sitting there with that hurt. And it's definitely easier said than done, because it was like after getting pregnant and having my baby, I don't care what people say now, but going through the process, I definitely cared. And you could say something to me unintentionally and just crush me, and I would be hurt for a long time. My husband holding me down throughout the entire process. And I don't always try to flex my husband, because I try to be real humble, but my husband is the GOAT. He definitely never made me feel like, you know, I wasn't a woman or I wasn't that woman because we were going through infertility stuff. He was a person that was like strong in faith. He was like, you know, it's going to happen when it's supposed to. And I remember coming to him crying, telling him about something that an older family member had said to me. He was just like, you know, F them, like, forget them. If they are going to try to be nosy and be all in our business, then forget them. Like, he was like he said some other words. I'm just trying to keep it PG, but he really had my back throughout the entire process. So he was definitely in my corner and encouraging me and just helping me to not feel bad about myself. And I really feel like I wasted so much time feeling sad because people had got in my ear. I'm listening to what people are saying or the questions that they're asking. And I allowed I still had fun because I'm the type of person, I try to push and overcome any obstacle that's in front of me. So we did enjoy ourselves pre-baby. Still dealt with that a lot, the opinions of others. My mom would encourage me if she didn't like when I told her that people are asking questions. She would get upset, but she want to cuss the people out. I started to let go of my desire for children. I was like, you know what? It's not happening. I'm just going to be a rich, fine auntie. I started to shift my mindset. I just accepted it. I'm like, you know what? It is what it is. So I was like, you know, this year, or if I get invited to a baby shower, I'm going. I just didn't want nobody turning around like, so Portia, when are you having a back then? I will lie to you. Oh, I don't want any children. But I did have some prayer warriors and people that I would open up to, but I would open up to people that I knew had a prayer life, people that I knew believed in the word of God, people that I knew were saved, and that if I tell you the issues that I'm going through, you're going to take it to the Lord and you're going to pray about it. You're not going to talk about me behind my back. So like the elders in the church, I attend Greater Works. Well, I'm in Georgia now, so I watch it online. But before we moved to Georgia, before my husband joined the military, my Greater Works family, they were praying for me because we asked our pastor and first lady, hey, could you guys keep us in prayer because we would like to start our family. Our pastor and first lady, those are like our godparents. So we told them, please keep us in prayer because we do want to start our family. So I just want to say I thank God for everybody that had prayed for me on the journey. I love y'all, and y'all really helped me to stay positive. So I just want to say that there were a lot of people that God put in my path to encourage me. So God used all of those amazing people to motivate me and help me to just keep going. I started to just not be offended. I was like, if they ask, I'm going to just try to not be offended. I also started to write down scriptures pertaining to my situation and believing in them. The beginning of March, my husband and I, we said we were going to fast and we were going to pray. So we started fasting and praying. And we also were reading this book. I'll put the name of the book available, but I have the PDF version. We started reading this book about, it's a spiritual book. It goes real deep about stuff. Like it goes deep about praying, all kinds of stuff. So we just were like, hey, Lord, if we got anything, any generational curses, anything, we started like praying deeply about that thing, praying and fasting. And I guarantee you, like wasn't even fasting for a full week. I want to jump back and talk about my health. So in 2020, I started doing keto. I lost a lot of weight. Your girl was looking real good, real snatched, real fine. They told me I ain't have PCOS no more, which keto is good for PCOS. So women, if you have PCOS, look up the keto diet. Shout out to my keto coach, Killing Keto with Ashley did an amazing job with helping me to lose that weight. So there were so many people on my journey, but I was doing keto because I was like, okay, maybe that'll help me. If you ain't trying to get pregnant, avoid keto, because I'm telling you, it's a baby up in that diet. My cousin prayed for my fallopian tubes. The doctors didn't say that, but God was showing my cousin some things, and she prayed for that. So fast forward to, I had done lost weight. Your girl is looking snatched, and I'm trying on this dress because I think I'm so fine. It was fitting real nice up top on my thighs, but I couldn't button it over my midsection. Then, and my period has started to come back regular. And I think 2019, it just started to come regular every month. I'm sorry, I'm skipping over so much. Please forgive me. 2019, I was able to get the MRI. My OBGYN gave me a medicine that made me really calm, and I was able to get the MRI. So after much turmoil with the MRI, I was able to get it. They saw that I had prolactinoma. It was really small. They was like, we just going to start you on these pills. And they started me on those pills. I started to lose weight because prolactinoma can make you larger. And my cycles came back like clockwork. Every month my period came on like clockwork. I ain't never had no issues. It came back on. So in March of 2021, my period was late, and I'm having these back pains, and I'm like, okay, I ordered these shoes because I started working in a salon here in Hinesville, Georgia. I'm like ordering all this stuff because I'm like, my period is really like hurting me this time around. My back is hurting. It's coming late, and every time before my period come, my back hurt. But this time around, it felt different. And I'm like, okay, I'm just waiting on my period to come. I'm like, I know it's coming. It's just a little bit delayed. My husband's like, you need to take a pregnancy test. So I kind of get mad at him. I'm like, why? All the times I've taken a pregnancy test, they have always been negative. And he was like, because you've been being mean. And I'm like, I'm not mean. But I was like, okay, I'll take the test. And I noticed, like, the laundry detergent I was using smelled real funny. So I'm having all of this stuff going on. And he's like, you need to take a test. And I'm like, okay, I'll take one. So he goes to work, and he told me take 3 and send him pictures. So I'm like, okay, I'm getting my nerves together. And I just remember praying. Like, I was just like, you know what, Lord, if I started praying over my nieces and my nephews. And I'm like, you know what, Lord, if it's your will for me to just be a good auntie to them, then that's what I'm going to do. If I'm not, going to have kids or whatever, then Lord, I just have to accept it. And, I was just talking to God about my feelings before I took this test. And so I took the test, I took all 3 of them, and I dipped them one by one, and I laid them on the napkin in the bathroom. And I came back, and after 3 minutes, and all of them had 2 pink lines on them. And I just started panicking. I started crying. I'm like, oh my God, like, hold on. Now, I had been through so much hell that I ain't believe it. And I had got a positive pregnancy test the year we got married. And by the time I went to the doctor, they didn't see a baby. So I don't know if I miscarried or what. But so I'm panicking. I'm like, I called my husband. He couldn't like really hear me because he was at the gun range, and he was somewhere and he could not hear me. And he was just like trying to make sure I was okay. And he finally was able to hear that I was saying that we got 3 positive pregnancy tests. So he ended up coming home on his break, and according to I had downloaded a pregnancy app, and it said that next day I was going to be 5 weeks pregnant. I don't know why I didn't go to the hospital, but I went to urgent care. They came in, they handed me the papers, they confirmed it, and I was like, oh my God. I'm calling all the people that have been praying for us, and I'm like, OMG. I didn't tell my mom. I wanted to surprise her, so I popped up on her and surprised her because I knew we was coming home. And that's when we told the rest of our family. I still didn't believe when I left urgent care. So I went to this other pregnancy clinic and I took a test there, and they was like, pregnant. And so my husband was like, are you going to go somewhere else? I did go somewhere else. They confirmed it. So I went to about, 3 home pregnancy tests, urgent care, the pregnancy clinic, this other doctor's office, and then my OBGYN that's here on base. So I had problems believing. I'm like, I don't know now. We've been trying for a long time. So I had my first ultrasound at that pregnancy clinic because they scheduled it for me when I was 8 weeks. And I saw our baby. We saw our baby moving. I was like, oh my God, I'm pregnant for real. Then I got scared. I said, so that means I got to have this baby? That means I got to push it out? I was like panicking now. But I started to believe that I was pregnant. It took me a while to believe I was pregnant. Even getting bigger and bigger and feeling my baby kick and move and all the appointments, I still had a hard time. Like, oh my gosh, I'm finally pregnant. Like, because I didn't think that I was going to get pregnant in my 20s. But I said that the same. I'm sorry this video is long, but I want this video to get out because I want to touch somebody. I want the woman, the married couple that is trying to have a baby to just believe that God can do it. I was like, you know what? I'm in where I am on my journey with God was if he didn't do it for me, I'm still going to go to church. I'm still going to praise. Am I perfect? No, I'm not perfect, but I serve a perfect God, and I'm still going to give him the glory. It was God that blessed us with this baby. So whoever is watching this video, to whoever it applies to, keep the faith. Don't listen to those voices that try to tell you all these wicked things. You probably don't have a baby because you won't be a good mother. I was hearing so many things just pop up in my mind, and those things are not true. For us, God wanted to get us to a certain place. He had some things that he wanted to do first. And to the person that's waiting, I don't know what the Lord is waiting for, but I'm just going to believe that the Lord will do it for you. If he did it for me and it took us years, I'm no more important. My husband and I and our baby, we're no more important than the next person. God don't love us no more than he loved you. So if he did it for us, he'll do it for you. Give those situations to God. Keep saying before God about the situation. We don't need to put a cap on God. We can do anything. So you might think, okay, my season is over. My time has come and gone. It's not going to happen for me. I'm believing God with you. So I just want to share this video with you all. To the person that is waiting, hoping, and praying, keep the faith. Don't let nothing shake your faith. I love you and thank you so much for watching this video.